Okay, welcome back to part 2 of chapter 9, topic 9.3. Right, how can we make housing inclusive? So, for this second part, I will cover all the way to show you some examples of what public housing is like in our neighboring countries. And then hopefully we can conclude by looking at Singapore in comparison with some of these case examples that we look at and come to a conclusion of what is the general direction that government should be moving towards to provide what is a form of sustainable development in terms of housing, providing affordable, inclusive housing. So, technically, what exactly is inclusive housing? Like we mentioned earlier, is something that has facilities that cater to all age groups of people who are living in the area. But there's another very important thing, which is this idea of affordability. Okay, can the local population afford this housing? Because you can have the best buildings, best amenities, best facilities to promote community cohesiveness and all. But if nobody can afford it and there's nobody to live there, then it doesn't work. Right? So, to start off, let's take a look at what housing in Hong Kong could look like. Okay, so I'm going to exit this
So we
PowerPoint
all
here.
know that Singapore.
Right, and I'm going to show you a 360 video. Okay, I'll put the link into our trophy channel, right? But let's take a look at this now. When you're watching this on the YouTube app itself, again, right, note that you can actually move around by using a finger and pushing around the screen, so you can actually immerse yourself in the video. So let's take a look.
Hong Kong, Asia's world city, also known as the Pearl of the Orient. A vibrant urban center, major port and global financial hub. Hong Kong is one of the most densely
So pushing
populated
around,
places in the world,
you can push around
with
later
more
on
than
when
6,000
you're
people
reviewing this
per
on
square
your own.
kilometer.
Look at how many people there are at the street side. This is an
But
area like our
beyond the
Orchard Road.
glitzy skyline and jam-packed shopping district, Hong Kong is plagued by poverty and an increasing wealth gap.
Do we see this in Singapore?
1 in 5 people in Hong Kong are living below the poverty line, with no signs of improvement in the face of a rapidly aging population. Hong Kong's lack of affordable housing is considered amongst the most severe in the world. It is estimated that hundreds of thousands of people are now forced to live in partition apartments known as coffin homes. Coffin homes are small apartments that have been subdivided and converted into even more minuscule partitions. Sometimes there are more than 20 people living within. Mr. Simon Wong, a resident in one of these coffin homes, allowed us to visit his humble abode. A narrow, meter-wide hallway cuts through the complex. All of the 20 to 30 inhabitants are forced to share a set of toilets and a single sink. There is no kitchen for cooking. This particular property, however, while cramped and claustrophobic, seems clean and orderly. It's oddly quiet. The tenant must crawl through a small meter-wide hole to enter. Mr. Wong's own personal unit measures just 1 meter by 2 meters, which incidentally is about the size of a coffin. The unit barely has enough room for a small mattress, from which he can either watch TV or sleep. There is an option for reprieve from the cramped space of one's personal unit, and that is taking 12 flights of stairs to the roof. But Mr. Wong spends most of his time inside his coffin home, watching television. Mr. Wong was kind enough to let us film from his point of view within his unit, so that you can see for yourself exactly what it will look like to live inside the claustrophobic confines of a Hong Kong coffin home.
So this is the inside of a house.
Mr. Wong says his television is on 24 hours a day, even when he's asleep. He watches it continuously and says he can't live without it. He's afraid of his coffin home being too quiet. He's afraid of the dark.
Okay, so that it was the coffin home that that many people in Hong Kong have to live in. Would you consider it as a suitable space to live in? Right? Would you consider that a place with amenities? Right? Does it foster community neighborliness? Okay, you have no choice. You're very near one another, right? So I think most of you have rooms, even if you share rooms with a couple of siblings, right? Or even if you bunk out in the living room of your house, I'm pretty sure the space you have is more than what this gentleman has in Hong Kong in his coffin home. Right? So would you feel included if this was what your government gave you as an alternative to your kind of housing? Would you feel that they're looking after you? Do you feel that your needs are being looked out for? Right? So what can you get for rent in Singapore then? So this particular video here shows you generally what you can get for about $1,200, $1,200 a month versus what you can get for about $600 a month.
And moved houses 8 times. This is my 8th house, and I will be likely shifting out again next year.
Wow.
So yeah, we can
Serial
talk about
house mover.
the rent life in Singapore.
Okay.
Lanos rents a master bedroom in a condominium for about 1.2k per month.
Welcome.
Can you give an introduction to your house?
Basically, there are 3 bedrooms in this house, so I'm sharing them with 2 other housemates. And this is the common living room. I mean, we don't watch cable. These days we watch YouTube, like this channel.
Right, so take a look at the house that you see so far compared to the one in Hong
So are
Kong.
the shoes normally like this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, nothing to hide here, just what it is. And here is the kitchen.
See, they not only they have a
and
kitchen, they have a very nice
laundry
big kitchen.
section.
So
Actually, the rental fee $1,200 is about the same as the
this is
coffin
the
house,
master
the
bedroom.
coffin room.
So, fun fact, I was here for 10 days. I can't even leave this because I had COVID. This is my working section. It's just a cozy corner so that I keep this area free for exercise. You see, I can do a jumping jack,
Do you do other exercises?
push-ups.
Okay, what can you get for about $600 then?
Can you give me an introduction of your house?
So this is like the living room.
Mm.
Try to keep it clean, I guess. So every 2 days I'll try to vacuum and mop.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important.
Does it look more spacious?
My mom
You also
said,
rent
well, this is like
only
common
one room,
area, so all these biscuits,
but they have
everything
common
shared,
areas that
like
they can
three
share.
for all.
So how many bedrooms are there here?
Yeah, there are 3 bedrooms here. Kitchen.
Okay.
Some of the light. I mean, sometimes I do some cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And this oven is pretty new, so with this oven, right, it's a freaking life changer, man. I'm quite proud of this idea where, because it's very important, because you see, right, the kitchen is here. So any oil spillage, any sauce spillage, right, if you don't have this cover, it kind of like will affect the washing machine. This is the toilet, I think there's nothing much about it, but maybe you can
Look how nice and big the toilet is
So you
compared
share
to the one we
this
saw in
with 2
Hong
other
Kong.
rooms?
No, just one housemate, because the other one housemate has the attached toilet in the master bedroom.
Oh,
So that's it. My room is a nice, I think it's quite comfortable.
Uh-huh.
I think one upgrade about this room, air conditioner. So my last room didn't have an air conditioner.
Okay, so he also has an air conditioner. These are things that you can get a typical room in Singapore for about $600 in rent. Although rent has gone up quite a bit. This is filmed during COVID itself, which is about 4 to 5 years ago. But $600, you should still be able to get a bedroom in a HDB flat as rental. May not be in the best of locations, maybe a slight walk to the MRT station, or you may have to use buses, but it is possible. So think about, as an individual, which country do you think is more along in terms of developing integrated, suitable housing that is inclusive for everybody? Okay, so things like this, when we're looking at facilities that cater to all, who are we looking at? The elderly, the working population, and children all together. Okay, not just one particular group, but all particular groups. Okay. So some of these elderly facilities that we are looking at include things like railings. Okay, or what is the focus here? This is actually the railings. Can you please include this into your notes? Right? Why do you need railings? Because the elderly are a little frail. Climbing upstairs is a bit difficult for them. Right? This is the seniors corner, which we saw in the earlier parts of this topic, or seniors corner. Like I mentioned in class, this is very, very much common in HDB blocks, right? Rest areas, dialysis center for increasingly you have these elderly diseases, chronic diseases that need healthcare. What about children facilities? Things like Sparkle Tots. Okay, some of you may have come from Sparkle Tots when you were much younger. Things like our clinics, these are multi-use. This can actually be for elderly, working people as well as children. Things like your playgrounds. Okay, general facilities, things that make life easier for everybody, right? Having a market, right? Having things like your traffic crossing, your senior citizens, and enhanced traffic crossing, exercise corners. Okay, these are for general use by more than one group. Okay, sometimes you have things that target the blind or the handicapped, right? Your braille buttons, okay, your traffic light with the beeping signals, right? And traffic light itself, the flat crossing to allow for people who are handicapped or not so mobile. Okay, so all in all, these are things that you would be able to find in inclusive housing. Okay, we don't have HBL this week, so you will not be able to do the HBL activity yet. But for week 4, your HBL activity will be to take 15 minutes to walk around your estate and take photos of inclusive housing amenities in your own estates. Right? It can be as little as this, braille buttons on the lift and maybe pedestrian crossings. Or if you can find all of these things, then please go ahead and take photos of that. Don't worry, I'll remind you again when we come to that. So with that, we end the lesson for second